everyone! Welcome to the Crafty Pixie channel where we do sewing and craft projects. I'm Bee. If you are new or old here, thank you so much for stopping by. Before we get into today's video, I just want to say thank you so much. One of my videos has over 100 views. I am so excited by this. Thank you everyone who is stopping by and watching these videos. It's fantastic. I am so excited. This was a goal I was reaching and I got to it. Thank you guys so much. If you are new to this channel and you are not subscribed, make sure you go to the bottom and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I upload every Wednesday at 9:15 a.m. Leave a comment in the comment section and give the video a thumbs up, okay? In today's video, I caved. I've been seeing this pop up all over the place and I had to try it. It's the H2O to Go Sling. Yes. It is super cute. It is for advanced beginners. There's a lot of curves and sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but you go slow and it'll be great. I actually made two. I made this one and it just has in the pocket, it just has the little pocket in here. There's nothing else great about this one. And this one that I made, which is the one I'm going to show you guys today, has a card slot pocket and a normal pocket in it. So you've got the normal pocket here, and then you've got the card slots here and another pocket right here. They're nice and deep and sturdy. It's a great project. It really, really is. You can use duck canvas, you can use waterproof canvas, you can use quilt cotton, whatever you would like. So without further ado, let's get some materials and get started. For this video, you're going to need all of the pattern pieces interfaced and cut out for the type of bag that you want. I'm going to be doing the card slot pocket, so I've got that in there. And then you're going to need, of course, your zipper. You're going to need some marking tools. You're going to need clips and pins. You're going to need scissors, and you're going to need a seam ripper, along with coordinating thread, your sewing machine, an iron, and a little bit of patience. Some of the steps are a little complicated because there are some curves, but it's nothing that we can't do. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is put the zipper tabs on the zipper. So I've cut the zipper exactly to the measurements in the pattern. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the accent fabric for the front pocket and we're going to lay that right side down on both ends, right so that it meets the edge of the zipper. And then you're going to take your other exterior fabric and you're going to put that right underneath. Sometimes it helps to just do that first. I think that's going to be the case this time. So we're just going to lay it down so that it's right at the edge. Try to make it even because you're not going to be trimming the sides of this. So you want to make sure it's as even as you can get it. And then you're going to either clip or pin it in place. Like so. And then we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and you're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch in from the edge. Backstitch really well at the beginning and the end. You're going to do that to both sides. I'm going to do that and I will be right back. Now that that is done, we're going to take it and fold the tabs back. Make sure they're as even as you can get them. And then we're going to press. And then we're going to take it back over to the sewing machine. And, sorry, that was annoying. And with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, we're going to top stitch right along the folded edge of the tabs where we just sewed. All right, I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back. Now we're going to press the seams that we just sewed. And we're going to take it and fold it in half. And then with scissors and the teensy bit off of the edge, we're just going to cut a little bit off. And that becomes the midpoint for our zipper. Now we're going to take our exterior pocket and our zipper. And on the zipper, you're going to want to make little notches all along the zipper. This is going to help it. You're going to want to do it like 1/8 of an inch. And you're going to want to do it all along both edges because this is going to make it a lot easier to run the top curve here when we're putting the zipper on. They don't have to be pretty, they don't have to be perfectly spaced or anything like that, but you want them there because it's going to help it bend a little better. If you don't want to run it literally all across the entire bottom or anything, you can do 4 inches either side of your center notch. That way it'll help a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're going to take the exterior pocket and we're going to fold it in half and do the same thing. Just the tiniest bit. You don't want to do too much. Okay. Here's that. Now, with your zipper pull on the inside, we're going to match our center notches. And then we're going to come over to the side and line up the bottom raw edges of your zipper tab with the bottom raw edge of the pocket. And then flip it and do the same thing over here. Match the sides and the bottoms. And then we're going to clip all around the rest of it. You can do one side at a time and go all the way down if you want. And you want to clip them close together, lining up the edge of the fabric with the edge of the zipper. But you're going to want to clip them or pin them close together because you don't want any unnecessary rippling. Which seems to be a common occurrence for this pattern because you do have a lot of rounded edges. Once you get through the edges of this pocket and then the bottom, the rest is really smooth sailing. If you are a pro at curves, congratulations. I don't think I will ever be. But when you practice and you do it a lot, it definitely helps. Okay, and then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and with your zipper foot attached, you're going to baste down the outer edge. Okay, make sure you try to stay as even as possible. Biggest tip, go slow. Go very, very, very slow, especially when you get around these curves, because you want this to be as smooth as possible, because you're going to see this seam on the outside of the bag. So you want to make it as nice as possible. So I'm going to do that and I will be right back. That is done. So now you can put it off to the side. And then you're going to grab your interior pocket lining. Mine just happens to be the same fabric. Of course, you're going to want to fold this in half. And snip the tiniest little bit off. Okay. And you're going to take your pocket piece. You're going to fold that in half. And when it, alright, it is in half. There we go. And then we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch this edge at a 1/2 of an inch down. So 1/2 inch down, you're going to top stitch. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back. All right, now that that is done, we're going to just press the seam. You know I love to press whenever I get a chance to do so. All right. And then you're going to take your interior zipper panel. So you're going to use the accent fabric for the zipper pocket, which will be what is on the inside of the pocket, right side up. Then you're going to take the pocket and you're going to align the bottom and the two edges. And we're going to clip. To take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to baste at 1/8 inch all along the raw edges. So down this side, across the bottom, and up the other side. I will do that and I will be right back. All right, now that that is done, we're going to take the exterior and the interior piece and we're going to put them together. I find it easier to do that if I unzip the zipper to do this, because you're going to be attaching it to the zipper that's already with the basted fabric. So I like to just tuck it in to the center. So with the exterior face up and the interior with the pocket face down, we're going to line up all of the edges and we're going to clip or pin into place. You want to be very careful when you do this because you don't want to get that other zipper piece or the other side of the zipper caught. So line up the bottom edge and clip. Make sure your center seams are correct. Your little center notches, top and bottom. And then just work your way around. Like I said, putting those little notches in the zipper will help this, but your best friend is lots of clips or pins. And going very slow. You're going to want to backstitch really well at the beginning and at the end, and you're going to want to make sure you keep your seam allowance the same all the way around. Seam allowance, depending on your presser foot, will either be 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. This should be a little bit easier to clip. And then, yep, just continue all the way around. Making sure you do not clip the other side of the zipper into this, because if you sew that, you're going to have to literally take all of the, unstitch it in that area and redo it. With this pattern, I was forced to become best friends with my seam ripper. Because as I've said in previous videos, I'm not the greatest with rounded edges. I'm working on it. The more practice you do, the better you get. Okay, And then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew right around the edge. If you want, if it makes it easier, you can literally follow the seam that you've already made, because it's going to be the same seam allowance. So either the 1/8 of an inch or the 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna go do that and I will be right back. That is done. So now you're gonna reach inside. You're gonna pull everything right side out. Very carefully. That zipper can make it a little difficult. Okay. And then you got the pocket in there and everything too. If you want, you can clip the edges of the fabric like we did with the zipper, but the fabric should go along very smoothly. All right, and there it is. Nice curved edge, trying to keep the seam as even as possible. I don't think I did too bad of a job. You can, at this point, since you turned it right side out, you can press it, because the more that we get this going, the less you're going to be able to press super smoothly. I like to press because it makes it look. Now you can set this piece aside. All right, next you're going to grab your card slot piece if you're using the card slot. All right, now with your folded top edge, you're going to come to your first mark and you're going to pinch that right at that mark. You're going to bring that mark up to meet that first mark that you made. Make sure your edges are aligned. Then you're going to press. If you're using a heat erasing pen, be careful not to mark the other markings. Press that down really, really well. Okay? And then you're going to take sure it is aligned. And then you're going to take the next one down here and you're going to pinch. It's hard to show you. You're going to pinch right at it. Right at that line, and then you're going to bring it up. Make sure you are aligned. You're going to press. Make sure you be careful not to, if you're using a heat erasing pen, to erase the marks that you just made. Make sure at the same time you are not burning yourself. Okay. Take this. Now the whole time you are folding these, Be very careful that the 6 inches that you folded at the beginning are not part of this fold. That is a separate entity. Fold, bring up to meet. Make sure your other lines are aligned. And pinch your last line. And bring that up. Okay, now the bottom raw edge of your top piece and the folded piece should be aligned right at the bottom. Your sides should be aligned. Voila. Now we're going to take it to the sewing machine. Okay. And while we are at the sewing machine, we are going to top stitch each top of the card slots. And then, making sure you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And then you're going to come through and you're going to baste all of these 3 raw edges down. So start here, come all the way down, all the way up. And you're going to use 1/8 of an inch seam allowance for all of those. I'm going to go do that and I will be right back. With that done, next we are going to take the back of the card slot piece and then of course your card slot piece, and with the right side of the card slot piece facing right side up, we're going to lay the card slot piece right on top. And you're going to line up the bottom edge like so. Okay, and then we're going to clip it. And we're going to come through and we're going to baste down the card slot pocket to the card slot back. And 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you wanted to, you can actually literally follow the stitch that you already made. Okay, so I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. With that done, we're now going to take the card slot accent pieces and we are going to clip them along the sides of the pocket. So we're going to take them and lay them right side down so that it is right sides together. Make sure all edges are aligned. And then we're going to clip. right. Now we're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to stitch 2.5 millimeter stitch length all the way down both long sides of this. Make sure you backstitch really well at the beginning and at the end. And then what you're going to do after that is done is you're going to come through and you're going to fold it open, and we're going to press. So I'm going to go do that, and I will be right back. Now that that's done, we're going to take it, and with the seam that you just sewed toward the pieces when you unfold them, we're going to press it out. We're going to take it back over to the sewing machine, and with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to top stitch right along the seams. Okay, and then you can press it once again when you are done. I'll be right back. Once that is done, you're going to want to, of course, press your seam, top stitch seam that you just did, like so. And then you have your center, I went ahead and made the center notches. And then you're going to take your exterior back pocket liner, and you're going to mark your center notches there as well. And then you're going to take your piece and you're going to lay it right on top, matching those notches. Okay, now if you look at it, your side panels are a lot bigger than the back lining. So the pattern says that you can trim it to size. What I like to do is to very, very, very carefully pin the rest of the bottoms, and then literally take my tiny scissors and cut around the edge, being very, very careful. So I lay it flat when I do this because I don't want it to be crooked or anything like that when we go to put it in the bag. Make sure everything is lined up and everything is centered before you do this. And you can literally just come through. Okay. Ta-da! If you want to, at this point, baste literally right around the edge, as close to the edge as you can, just to keep the pieces together, you can go ahead and do that. All right, now we're going to take our main exterior piece and the pocket zipper that we've already done. And we're going to lay it right in the center, like so. And then with your center notch, with the center of your fabric, you're literally going to pin it right there in place. Okay. So what you're going to be looking at is the side of the zipper that doesn't have anything sewn to it is going to be what's attached to the exterior of the bag. Okay, and then we're going to take it and match up the bottom edge. And we're going to take the other bottom edge. Line that up. And clip, and then you're just going to clip all around that edge. Alright, and then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and with your zipper foot, you're going to fold the fabric like this so that you're running on the inside as you're going through the sewing machine, okay? Just make sure that when you're doing this, you are going slow and you are taking and pushing the exterior fabric out of the way as you're going to make sure that anything that is not supposed to be attached to the zipper is not attached to the zipper. And you're going to sew it at either 1/8 of an inch seam allowance or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, depending on what your presser foot will do. Okay, so I'm going to go do that and I will be right back. Now that that is done, there's something that looks like that. And so that'll be the front once it's all said and done. So now we are going to attach our card slot pocket into here. Yes, it is bigger. That's okay. Just like before, you're going to find your center. And you're going to place the center of the card slots in place. And then now this will be shorter than the outer pocket. And then you're literally going to pin all around the edge. You can actually start at the curve. Alright, now that it's all pinned around the edges, we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. And you're going to sew right over that seam that you already did. On this side, you're just going to follow it all the way around. You can fold the opposite way and then do it, or you can just fold the same way and do it that way. Alright, so I'm going to go do that and I will be right back. Alright, now that that is done, we're going to come through and we're going to press the bottom so that the seams that we just sewed are facing out. We're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch along the bottom so that we can seal the pocket shut. Alright, so I am going to go do that. I'll be right back. All right, now that that is done, we're going to take our lining pieces and line them together. Make sure they're even, and then we're going to clip. And then we're going to go over the sewing machine and we're going to stitch a 3/8 seam allowance, or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance along the clipped edge. And then I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Alright, I also went ahead and pressed the seams open, and then at the bottom we matched up the two midpoint marks, made sure they were aligned, and then I also cut snips over here where the other midline is, so you have a grid. You've literally got 4 pieces. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our bottom lining exterior and we're going to fold that in half. So we find the center mark. Very, very tiny snip. And then fold it the other direction. I'm cutting those. All right, so now you have 4 center pieces, matching your 4 center pieces on here. Now we're going to take it. If there's any loose threads, clip them. Now at this point, I like to use pins because the pins tend to not shift around once they're in the fabric. Sometimes the clips can move. All right, so we're going to line up our 4 center pieces first, and you're going to put it right side down into the opening. So we're gonna match here. This is my least favorite part of this whole thing. Really is. So we're gonna match up the center and the edge. We're gonna pin it. And then we're gonna move over to the side. Actually, we're gonna move over to this one. Pin this one, which is directly across from the other one. I know you really can't see, I'm sorry. There is a lot of fabric here. I actually bent my pin. And then come over here and do this one. All right, and then you're literally now going to fill in and line up the edges, and you're gonna fill in with the pins so that it's all aligned. And then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and with it up like this, you're literally going to stitch right next to the Peltex or whatever stabilizer that you're using, and you're gonna sew it all the way around. Make sure you backstitch really well at the beginning and the end. Biggest thing, you need to go slow. it is the biggest tip that I could give you. You need to go slow. If you are not paying attention, it will not sew correctly. And then when you get over to the pocket, if you're doing the pocket, it does not like the pocket either. So you're going to have to be really, really careful with that because the pocket makes it really stiff and there's a lot of fabric there. So take your time, go slow. When you're pinning, if it bunches up right here at the edge, that's fine. You don't want anything bunching right next to the stabilizer because that's what's going to be visible on the other side. So I'm going to go finish pinning. I'm going to do that at the sewing machine and I will be right back. All right, we're done. You good? That was, to me, that's the hardest part of the bag. I have a really, really hard time with that. But now we're going to flip it right side out and see how everything looks. Alright, yeah, we're good. Alright, you're going to set that aside and you're going to grab the back, or sorry, not the back, the interior lining. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to, when we clip it, we're actually going to leave a good size opening. So I'm going to get my ruler and my marking pen. You want to leave like 5 inches. Where you're not gonna sew. And then we're going to clip. And make sure it is even. And you're pinning it so that it is right sides together. If your fabric has like a pattern or something, if it's a solid color and it's like duck canvas, you don't really notice it. All right, so we're gonna take it over to the sewing machine, and with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, we're gonna sew from top to line, backstitch really well at the beginning and the end, especially right here where you made your mark, because that's where we're going to turn everything right side out. And then you're going to stitch from mark to end, backstitch really well at the beginning and at the end. All right, I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. All right, that is done, and I went ahead and pressed the seam open, and I also went ahead and did the tiny snips on the 4 corners. And now we are attaching the bottom interior to the exterior. Before we do that, I am going to clip just a little bit, see if that helps with the fitting. I didn't do it to the last one I made, and I didn't do it to the exterior of the one I'm making today, but I'm gonna snip it and see if that makes a difference. Just a little bit, like a 1/8 of an inch. It's not very much. This one should go a lot easier because I don't have the pocket to deal with. All right, so again, you're gonna fold your bottom piece in half, like so. Make teeny tiny snips. just like that. And then we're going to attach just like we did to the other one. So we're going to match up the notches and pin it in place. I'm going to finish pinning this, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew just like we did to the other one. So you're going to lay it, actually you can probably even lay it this way this time when it's all pinned together, and then just sew literally right along the edge just like we did on the exterior. I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Alright, now we're done with that one. That one was a whole lot smoother, I hope, for you than the other one. So we're going to set that aside. And then you're going to take your D-ring connector. Oh, my workplace is a mess. Hold on. Alright, we're going to take our D-ring connector. Actually, I like that one better. And we are going to, she says you can draw a line right through the center, but I like to fold it and press it. Alright, so you're going to fold it in half so the long raw edges match. You're going to press. Please feel free to do it the way she says in the directions. I happen to find this a lot easier. Alright, and then fold up one side to that center mark or crease, whichever one you did. Press. Flip it over, do the same thing to the other side. Press. Okay, and then I like to also clip the edges so it stays in place when we go to the sewing machine. But basically we're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and then along each folded edge we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, so we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, do the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance along the long edge. We're going to top stitch it, and I'll be right back. We're done with that. Now we're going to press to to seal the seams. Alright, just like that. And then you're going to take your ruler and you're going to cut the D-ring into 2 equal parts so that the raw edges are meeting. You've got your little crease there. You can use your ruler to make the line straight. I like to do that. And then I like to have a line so I know exactly where to cut. you want these to be even. And you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut. You can either cut on the line that you made or in the crease that you made. So now you've got two equal. Okay, and then you're going to take your D-rings. All right, we're going to take the D-rings, and the side with the opening is going to lay flat against the straight piece, and you're going to fold it in half so that they are equal, and we're going to clip. Just like that. And we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. And we're just going to top stitch right across the edge just so that it doesn't move on us. I like to do that. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. All right, with that done, we're going to come over to our outer panel and we're going to line up the D-ring in the center, and we're going to push it so that there is a 1/2 of an inch hanging over the top. Let me see if I did it right on the first try. Yeah, we're good. All right, so you want to center that as best you can. You will notice it in the end. And then you're just going to come and clip them. You can pin it if you want to, of course. But there's a lot of fabric there, so I find it easier just to pin it, or to clip it, sorry. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Center it as best you can and leave it a 1/2 of an inch overhang. Good to go there. You want to try to have this as straight as possible. And pin. All right. Now we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and you're just going to want to baste right across, right at the edge, so that it sticks to the outer panel when we go to put all of the pieces together. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Now we get to kind of do a final assembly of this thing. So we're going, I went ahead and I turned my outer panel with the pocket inside, or right side in. And then we're going to take the inner lining wrong side out, and we're going to fit it into place. Now, she does have a tip in the pattern where she does not like the two main seams to be aligned. So, you simply, careful of the D-rings, we're going to slide this in. Take full advantage of that opening if you need to. I'm going to slide it right into place. It should fit nice and snugly. Nice and in there. And then we're going to align the D-ring straps together. And we're going to clip. This is definitely one of the hardest patterns I have ever done. This is definitely ambitious beginner, to say the least, but it's definitely doable. And then you're gonna mark or clip the centers. Now all of it should be aligned really nicely. There should not be any super unevenness. All right, and then you're going to continue, you're going to clip all the way around the edge. Okay, making sure that everything is aligned. And then you're going to take it over to the sewing machine. And with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, you're going to sew along the entire outer edge all the way around. Okay, backstitch really well at the beginning and at the end, and I would also backstitch over the D-rings just to give it a little bit extra reinforcement there. So I'm going to finish pinning and go do that, and I will be right back. Now we are done with that, and it is time to flip it right side out. So you reach into the hole, you're just going to pull it out. Be very, very careful with your seams. All right, I'm gonna finish turning this right side out. Once you do that, you're going to sew that seam closed that we pulled everything out of. So I'm gonna go do that and I will be right back. All right, now that we've turned it right side out, we're gonna come through and we're going to press the whole edge that we just sewed, just so that it lays nice and flat when we top stitch it. Make sure that's nice and even there. All right, and then we're going to take it back over to the sewing machine and we are going to top stitch all the way around at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, all the way around what you just sewed at the top. All right, so I'm going to go do that. I will be right back. All right, now that that is done, you're going to take either the webbing that you cut for the strap or the fabric that you cut for the strap. I'm actually using belting. I find that this holds up really, really well. The person I'm making this for is going to use it a lot. You're also going to need your swivel hooks and your little adjuster for the strap. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one end and loop it over that centerpiece, like so. You're going to overlap it 1 inch. You can eyeball it or you can measure it. It's entirely up to you. And then we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch a 1/4 of an inch in right here, and then we're gonna sew another one. You can try to get as close to the hardware as you can. A presser foot, or not a presser foot, a zipper foot works great right there. Make sure you back stitch. I like to sew all the way down and then back stitch all the way up and then come all the way back down. So I'm going to go do that and I will be right back. Now that that is done, we're going to take our clasp and you're going to want to have it so that the part that you just sewed is on the bottom, and you're going to put your clasp in this way so that the clasp part is facing down. And you're going to take your raw edge and you're going to slide it through the top, just like that. Okay. And you've got your clasp on one end, your adjuster, and then your loose end. Now with the loose end, you're going to take your second adjuster. And you're going to want to see, there we go. And then you're going to take it and you're going to fold it over so that it hangs 1 inch on the bottom. And you want the bottom to be the same bottom as this one. So if that's facing down, you're going to want this bottom to be facing down as well. You're going to hang it over 1 inch. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to do the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance right here, back stitching really well. And then you're going to want to get as close to the clasp as possible and back stitch really well. I'm going to do that. I will be right back. Voila, you are done. Yep, this was a challenge, but we did it. You may never want to do it again. Depending on how much of a hard time you had. But to be completely honest, if you take your time and, you know, go slowly and put lots of pins and do everything that the instructions tell you to do, it's really not too bad. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Leave a comment in the comment section down below and make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Until next time, see ya.